Good morning, everyone. Today I have the honor of welcoming and introducing Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson is a wide receiver out of Georgia Tech who was a two-time All-American who received the 2006 Biletnikoff Award as the nation's top receiver and the Athletic Coast Conference Player of the Year. He was drafted second overall in the 2007 NFL Draft by the Detroit Lions, where he spent his entire nine-year career. Johnson started in 130 out of his 135 career games and began truly making his mark in the league during the 2008 season when he finished with 78 catches for 1,331 yards and 12 touchdowns. Calvin Johnson has had 7 seasons with 1,000-plus receiving yards and earned league pass receiving yardage titles in 2011 and 2012, as well as the pass reception title in 2012. He led the Lions in pass receptions and receiving yards for 6 and 7 consecutive seasons, respectively, as well as the scoring title in 2010. He made 2 postseason appearances, the first of which included a performance with 211 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson was voted by his teammates as the Bobby Lane Offensive MVP Award winner for 6 straight seasons and was Bobby Lane Offensive MVP Award winner, named Offensive Player of the Month twice in November 2012 and October 2013. Johnson's career stats concluded with 731 receptions for 11,619 yards and 83 touchdowns. He earned Pro Bowl honors 6 consecutive years and was named first-team All-Pro 3 times and second-team All-Pro once. Johnson was selected to the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 2010s. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2018, as well as the NFL Hall of Fame in 2021. Now, everyone, please give a warm welcome to Calvin Johnson, along with this interview with Kyle Spears.
All right, so before this interview starts, I would like to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here. So would you like me to call you Calvin or Mr. Johnson?
Calvin's fine.
All right. So for my first question, I would like to know, what age did you start playing football, and when did you know that you wanted a career in it?
First part of that, I started playing football when I was, however old you are when you're in 7th grade. You know, my mom wouldn't let me start playing until I got to 7th grade for fear of me getting hurt being a little kid. So I always wanted to play when I was a kid, you know, even from 7, 8 years old. But, you know, it wasn't until I got to be, 13 years old probably was the first time I actually played the game. And I didn't know I wanted a career in football, honestly, until I got into, my 11th grade year maybe. Because that's when, I was always a baseball fan growing up. Baseball was my first love, but at some point, the love of football took over because it's just the team sport that it is. It takes all 11 of us to do our job right to make it happen, and there's a lot of individual sports out there, and I feel like that was just the ultimate team sport.
All right, so speaking of baseball, which comes up to my next question. Growing up, were you a multi-sport athlete?
Growing up, I played, baseball, basketball, ran track, and then I started playing football. So I did, 3-4 sports a year.
All right, so for anybody who doesn't know, you're from Georgia. So just telling me about what was it like growing up in Georgia?
Growing up in Georgia, man, it's always hot. It was a blessing for me to come up here because I always look forward to the one day a year that we got snow, and the snow maybe an inch. But being able to come to Michigan, I was able to thoroughly enjoy that. And, I'm a snowboarder now, so I thoroughly enjoy the snow, even though we're not getting as much as we used to when I first moved up here like 17 years ago. But it's my new hobby.
Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. All right, so do you think high school football is more competitive today than from when you played?
I guess you can say, I wouldn't say necessarily with the skill level maybe that it's more competitive, but maybe from a perspective that there is more media around football, so there's more conversation about, each individual player has a platform, I guess you can say, and then there's more tools, than we had back in the day. So I guess from that perspective, yeah, it can be, I guess, a little bit more competitive.
All right, thank you. So how did you feel about getting inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame at such a young age?
Man, that's it's awesome to be like, it's cool to be one of the youngest guys in the Hall of Fame, but at the same time, it wasn't anything that I was like, man, if I don't, get in as a young guy, I'm not going to be happy about it or anything. It's just an honor just to be amongst, the greatest people, that the guys that built the game. When you think about football and you think about all the great plays in the history of the game, when I walk into that room every August, it's all those guys that built the game in that room. So just to be a part of that, it's humbling, and it's pretty dope.
All right. So, how different was high school football from college football when you played?
Yeah, man, going from high school to college, the speed of the game is so much faster. But a big part of that, and it's the same at every level of going from high school to college, going from college to the professional level. It's really just a learning curve. The reason why it seems so fast for guys that are there is just because you're learning on the fly, and when you're thinking and you're trying to play, you can't play fast. When you can play instinctually, when you know what you got to do, then you can play fast. So that's the big part about it. When you're a rookie, or when you're a rookie or a freshman in college, you're still learning the playbook. You're thinking as you go. It has to get into your system. You have to be used to doing. You have to get those reps, and you have to fall on your face sometimes learning. But you can't let that stop you.
All right. Did you start as a freshman in college?
No. Oh, college, yeah. I started as a freshman. Yep. Not in high school though. In high school, I didn't play varsity until my sophomore year, and I didn't start until my junior year in high school.
So I know you went to Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the importance of education when you're trying to play high school football, college football?
Yeah, let's start with high school, man. Shoot, y'all are like at the point in y'all's lives where you're just kind of setting yourselves up for the rest of your life. So, it's of the utmost importance to, focus in, to hone in on what you're doing, on focusing on your grades, to focus in on your discipline habits, just really setting your priorities, because, not to say things aren't going to get easier, that your level of, I guess, the things that you have to do, they're just going to increase as you go to college. So you have to be able to prioritize, and no better time than to start now. So obviously right now, it's easy. It might not seem easy, but it doesn't get any easier going to college. But if you could set yourself up with some good study habits, being able to, prioritize your time, set a schedule for yourself. If you could do those things, then you can find success, because you're working, you're always focused on working to get from A to B. But you have to take time to prioritize, because if you don't, you're just gonna be running. You'll be moving with the winds of adversity, or just roaming with your boys or your gals and just doing what they do instead of focusing on what you got to do. So just be very strict with your time, because if you could do that, then you'll be able to have time to do the things that you really want to do.
So when you got to college, did the work just hit you hard?
Oh man, hard? When I got to college, I went to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was a tough school, and the reason I went to Georgia Tech, and it wasn't. I went there. I got a scholarship to play football, but I went to Georgia Tech over a lot of other schools that I could have went to that maybe had bigger could have won a championship and those kind of things, but. For me, I wasn't thinking about going to the NFL. I was thinking man, I'm just trying to be realistic at the time. I always, try to be realistic, and, you just look at the numbers. It's a very small percentage that make it to the next level, and you might have all the skills to do it, but who knows what kind of injury you might run into along the way or whatnot. That might derail you. So why not put myself in a position and go to the best school that I can go to, that, if I go to this school, I know if I graduate from this school, I'm going to walk into a job because of the strenuous level of work that they put you through at that school. And I will go back to the grades part, man. When I got to school, I never, it was a struggle for me, because I never seen D's on a report card, C's just lying on my whole report card, because just the level of work that I had to do in college, along with being a college athlete. It was tough, because I wasn't able to prioritize my time the way I needed to. I was hanging with the fellas, I was trying to party, I was trying to do all these things instead of getting in my books and doing what I really needed to do. But that comes from, like I said earlier, if you're able to, do those things now, create those habits now, those things will carry over into the next level.
Thank you. So what motivated you to want to play in the NFL? Was it a reason, or did you just love football?
Yeah, man, that goes back to, that goes all the way back to high school for me. I had, I'm in high school in 10th, 11th grade probably, And I'm my in-school suspension, or my head coach was the in-school suspension teacher. Basically, I don't know if y'all have one of those now, but basically, if you got ISS or in-school suspension, I was the guy. I was his assistant, so I'll go and get all the classwork from all the teachers for the kids that were in school suspension. So there's one day, I guess nobody had any work or whatnot, and so we were just sitting there talking football, just talking life and all this. And he said to me, he was like, you could be one of the greatest that ever did it. And I'm a high school kid. I'm 10, 11th grade, 10th, 11th grade. I'm like, what you talking about, coach? It's just, for me, I'm out here just trying to, I'm thinking about prom. I'm thinking about my girlfriend. I ain't thinking about the next level and all those things that are to come. But what that did for me, it created a goal for me. Once that goal is created, all my mind was thinking then at that point was, shoot, how do I get from A to B? How do I get from where I am right now in A to being the greatest that he says I can be? He instilled the confidence in me. So at some point in time, I feel like all of us need that. All of us need that mentor, that coach, that somebody almost really other than our parents a lot of times, because we hear stuff from our parents and then you hear from somebody else, you're like, oh, they've been saying that this whole time. Oh, it makes sense. But you need that person to speak confidence into you. But at the same time, you got to be available yourself, to be available to listen, to be coachable. That's on you. How available are you? Are you shutting down any kind of advice you're getting from anybody? If you are, well, shoot, you limiting your horizon. So, just be a sponge, be available, listen. Listen more than you need to talk. Take in what's going on around you. Be observant. And those are the things I can just leave with you right now as far as what we're talking about.
All right, thank you. So at what point of high school do you think you were heavily recruited by college and team coaches?
After my my 10th, 11th grade year, I was recruited by a bunch of schools. And with that, it's, you get, when you're in your high school, it's kind of like a popularity thing, like guys would they go to the head, I got this many offers, this and this and this, but, for me, it was nothing to talk about until, because it was still, for me, it was just like, I'm thinking about what my coach told me. I ain't thinking about all these offers that are in my face. I know I'm going to go to the next level. I'm just thinking how can I prepare myself to be the greatest version of myself?
Right. So what is one of your most memorable moments in your football career?
That's tough. I got a lot of big moments. Shoot. The biggest one probably, it wasn't even, it was a game, but it wasn't really about me. It was my mom. We were playing in Philly. It was a snow game. It was probably 10 years ago now. And before the game, it was a sunny day. By the time the game started, it was 6 inches of snow on the ground. And, we lost the game and whatnot. But after the game, my mom was on the way to the airport. She slipped and fell. And from the fall, she had to go get checked out. And they found out that she had pancreatic cancer. So anybody know anything about pancreatic cancer, that's a death sentence. So that's we were spent for a whole 2 months until we got results oh shoot, there's an opportunity she's gonna be all right, because she found it early. But I think throughout my whole career, that's probably one of the biggest games, because if she didn't come to that game, she wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Hey, she's still here. So I was saying the biggest point about that is just it's bigger than the game. It's about relationships that you create in this life.
All right. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of us are familiar with your nickname, Megatron. Mm-hmm. So can you just talk about where that name came from? When did it start?
I got that nickname when I was a rookie, and that's when the first Transformers came out in 2007, I think. And my teammate, Roy Williams at the time, he was the #1 receiver when I got here, when I got drafted. And he just started calling me Megatron out of nowhere. And I wasn't a real big Transformers fan growing up or anything like that. But I just kind of took with it. But I knew Megatron was the bad guy, so I was just like, damn, I can't get down with that. That's the bad guy. But then, I thought about it in a different way, just trying to change my perspective a little bit. And, just thought about it like, hey, man, I could be the bad guy to the defense all day.
Right. So, as you know, the NFL draft was here in Detroit. So, how did that make you feel? What do you think was different from when you were in the draft?
Yeah, man, no, it's such a big difference. One, when I got drafted, everything was in New York. They brought all the guys that would probably get drafted in the first, 10 to 15 picks up to New York. So we were up there enjoying it. Now that was great. But what they're doing now is they're taking it from city to city. Which is a very cool experience for the different cities, and in particular here in Detroit. When I got drafted, when they flew me to Detroit, I was instantly homesick. I want to go back to Georgia. I called my mom, like, I can't, like, I don't want to be here. Because Detroit was a different time 17 years ago. But Detroit today, it's a very inviting place, and it's a place that you want to be. So I was happy that we got the draft here, because I felt like Detroit got an A on their report card, from all the tourists that came in town. So that was pretty cool.
All right. Thank you. And for my last question, what advice would you give to up-and-coming athletes?
There's so many things, man, but, really just how great do you want to be? You remember my receiver coaches asked me that at the beginning of every season. He has all the receivers out in the room. How great do you want to be? And of course, what you going to say? If I ask you, how great do you want to be, what you going to say? You want to be great? Exactly. How great you want to be? You want to be great. You want to be the best, right? Well, okay, how available are you to be that? Are you going to be available to put the work in when everybody else ain't? I know it's kind of cliche, but it's real. And it's not just the work. Denzel Washington said it best. If you practice BS, you're going to be great at BS. But if you practice putting good work in, you're going to be great for it. I did it many times. I played, however many games. And I know that one thing, the more I prepared, the less that I thought during the game, the more I prepared, the more it became instinctual in me, the better I was going to perform. But all that happened because I was available to put the work in. I wasn't out there just going through the motions. I wasn't just going to practice and showing up and doing what Coach told me to do. I was out there before. I was getting my body ready so I could get ready to make these moves and make the adjustments and make the conversions that I have to make the plays that I have to make. I was putting a little bit of work in. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was real with myself. I was like, okay, what are my pros? I know what I'm good at, but what am I bad at too? Okay, let's take these things each and every day and to work on these things, good and bad. Let's take this little thing and maybe I'm not good at just communication or just talking to people or just looking people in the eye. Today I'm gonna work at just making eye contact with people. Maybe I'm not good at catching the ball. Today I'm gonna take a little bit of extra time and just focus on catching the ball before practice. It's just taking those little bit of things, whatever it is, whatever your sport, whatever your struggle, whatever your obstacle is, and focusing on those things. You know what you're good at, we're gonna work on those things too. Those things gonna elevate too, but if we work on those things that we need help on, that we know are obstacles in our life, then we're gonna level ourselves out and we're gonna help ourselves to become the best version of ourselves, but are you available to do those things? That's what the question is. So, sure, are you available? Are you available to be great? It ain't easy. You gotta put work in. You gotta prioritize your time. Sometimes you can't go hang out with your friends and do those kind of things. Not that you can't hang out with your friends, but you gotta prioritize your time. But how available are you to do that? Are you gonna hold yourself accountable? Or are you gonna make excuses? Oh man, coach, if he would've did that, no, own up to your stuff. You mess up, own up to it. Get better from it. We all mess up. We all fall flat on our face. We all drop a pass when you could have won a game in some sense or another. But is that going to crush you, or is that going to be a stepping stone? It's up to you. It's up to your perspective. It's how you view things. Shit, we're going to fall on our face a bunch of times. I fell on my face countless times to get to where I'm right now. The only reason I fell on my face was because I tried. So, shoot, are you going to try? Are you going to try to be available? Are you going to try to be great? You can at least try. See what it tastes like. It might be good. You might want some more. Try it out.
Okay, and thank you for that. And again, thank you for this interview. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure the audience appreciate it. And thank you.
Glad to be here, bro.
All right. Can I use that mic? Does anybody have a question?
That's cool.
Oh, we got a couple. Okay. Tyler and Justin and Amari. And then we'll go from there.
How did you know, like, going through a recruiting process as I went through it too with basketball, how did you know you picked the right school?
Yeah, that was tough, man, because everybody has an opinion, your parents, your coaches, but ultimately, I listen to you take all that stuff in, you take it all in, but, you at the end of the day have to make that final decision and you have to be happy with it. I think at the end of the day, my mom and dad, they wanted me to go to Georgia Tech because of the, educational aspect, and, I felt that. My coaches, a lot of people around me wanted me to go to UGA, because that's the better football school. But, I knew me, and I was just looking at the numbers and just trying to hedge my bets. I'm just like, man, let me go somewhere where I know I get the best education. Like I say, I could go work anywhere and have a really good job, and then do the next thing. The next set of things that I want to do is take care of a family. So, at the end of the day, what made me go to Tech was that official visit, though. I went on my official visits to Georgia Tech in Georgia, and I went on my Georgia visit first, and that one, honestly left me feeling not so great, not so confident. But then when I went to my visit to Georgia Tech, I was already a little bit familiar with Atlanta. I grew up down around that way, and man, just the people, the vibe. I just like this. Maybe I was at home. I instantly felt at home, and that it was after the visit, it was done.
My question is, during the course of your football career, like the Lions weren't that accustomed to winning, so during like the off season or during the season when you're not winning a lot, did you lose motivation to play, or if you dealt with that, how did you overcome that and get up the next day and still go and put the work in?
Yeah, man, I get that question a lot, and that's a really good question. How do you continue to fight to be excellent, be great, and nobody else around you maybe is doing the same, or just you're not having success as a team? But I knew that if I didn't bust my behind, and as a leader, as a highly drafted player here in Detroit, I didn't want to be a leader, but just, my style of play and the way I moved, kind of just pushed me into that position. And I had to set an example, whether everybody was following that example or not, I had an example to set. And really, a lot of that example came with me, like the stuff I'm talking about with you now, was just how available was I to set myself up for success. And that's really what it comes down to, is like, you can't look at all the things that are happening around you and let that determine your level of success. You have to know deep down inside that you want to be great and understand what it's going to take for you to get to where you want to be from A to B. But you have to set a goal for yourself too. So if you can set a goal for yourself, you can achieve it. You like I said, it's going to be obstacles. There might be some things you knock out the park the first time. But in life, that's not how life works. There's going to be things you're going to have to work your way up to different levels. And it's just about your mindset. When you get knocked down, can you get back up?
Onto your topic of saying time management, how were you able to really manage your time well to the place where you at right now?
I think you said how was I able to manage my time? Fortunately, when you're in, professional sports, you have a tight schedule. But what happens when you get off of work? When you get up at 5 o'clock, you go into the office, you get off at 5 o'clock, and you go home. So you got a 12-hour, 11, 12-hour window right there. And for me, when I was playing ball, I understood, what my job was. My job was to keep this body, which is my business, as healthy as I can so I could be on the field to produce. And so that was my job. So when I got home, everything was focused on putting natural things into my body, doing whatever kind of healing and treatment I had to do when I get home. So when I got home, first thing I did, I would go home and I would take a nap in a hyperbaric chamber just to try to recover from the healing that I did or the beating that I took that day. I'll ice after that. Then I'll have dinner made. If I have it made, I'll make dinner. And then after that, it's time to rest. And then you just do it all over again. That was literally life in the league for however long you play. And then obviously the off season, just you have to take time off. You have to get away, but you can't get too far away because you got to remember, this body, if you don't keep it in tip-top shape, there's somebody else that's putting the work in. So you got to always be conscious of the level of work that you got to put in to keep your body, or just like I said earlier, man, how available do you want to be great? That's going to determine the level of input or the level of time requirement that you're going to put into something. So if you want to be great, sure, you're going to be busy. You're going to be busy all the time. That's just what it is. If you don't, not to say you can't be great by not being busy, but if you got to put the work in. You got to do what you got to do now to set yourself up so that you got to do what you got to do what you got to do now to do what you want to do in the future. If you don't, shoot. I'll put it like this. When I'm playing ball, when I'm at the line of scrimmage, that's the toughest part, especially because I always got press coverage, right? So I had to put the work in early in the down to have success later in the play. Y'all early in the down right now. If you ain't putting the work in right now, good luck. I'm just gonna say, I'm be real with you. If you ain't putting the work in right now, good luck. I've seen it. I got friends from high school. They ain't put the work in, and I see what happens. But I see what happens too when you do put the work in. You ain't gotta be perfect, you just gotta try. You ain't gotta be perfect here. You ain't gotta have all A's and B's. You can have C's, you can get it together, but you gotta try. You gotta try.
My question is, where do you see the Lions in the future now, knowing that we were this close to a Super Bowl?
Man, I know we got to the NFC Championship, man. It's so tough to get back there, But I am confident. I am confident with what we have here. And Dan, I played with Dan. I know he's a soldier. He's got a ton of coaches around him. I was fortunate when I played to have a player coach in my receiver room. So I was able to, buy into what he's telling me because I know he's been there and done that. My coach played 13 years. So that you listen when you have somebody coaching you or in a position that's mentoring you where you want to go. You're more inclined to listen then. And this team now has at least half the coaching staff are guys that have been where the guys that are playing right now want to go. So that's what's good about this team right now. You have a lot of buy-in, and and guys want to come here. That's what's good.
If football had fallen through for you in college, what career would you have pursued, and why?
If I didn't do football, what would I have done?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to college for building construction. So I love design. I love art. And engineering and design, I believe I would have fell into something like that. That's what I originally went to school for. Yep.
As a teacher, coach, even a parent with my 3-year-old daughter, I see a lot of kids today where they're like pressured from different places to do one sport and to do one sport. Did you just do football, or did you do a lot of sports when you were younger?
Yeah, I think it's very important. That's a good question too, man. I love that. I love that's one of my favorite questions. Just talking to parents. If I'm ever doing anything in front of parents, man, just tell you don't pigeonhole your kid in one sport. If he just wants to play one sport, that's great. But at least have him doing another one in the off season, just to become well-rounded. I wasn't able. If I didn't play baseball, I wouldn't be out there making all those spectacular catches. It's because I was tracking baseballs all my career, and then that was able to translate over into another sport. So there's a lot of translation that happens throughout sports. So it's just you just got a lot of, in the different skill sets, from basketball, that could translate to football, that could translate, there's a lot of just from different, just put your kids in different sports so they're well-rounded. The one thing I hate is when I see kids just playing travel sports, because you get stuck in playing one sport all year round because you're traveling and you just can't become a well-rounded athlete. If it don't work out in that particular sport, then if something, it's it. But most importantly, beyond sport and beyond taking sports to the next level and professional level, are the lessons and the character traits that we learn from playing sport. That's why my kids, I got 3 boys. They all gonna be playing sports. It's not a question. Not to say that I'm gonna push them to be great and do the things that I didn't know, but I just know there's a bunch of valuable lessons to be learned just by playing team sport.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.